A surprise hit in our homeschool this year has been the language arts units from Fishtank. I've heard about Fishtank for a few years, but I never really took the time to understand what their website is. And if you don't know what Fishtank is, it is a free language arts curriculum for starting in grades 1 all the way, I believe they have all the way through high school. There's also a math side of it, but I haven't looked at it yet. It is designed for public school, but I have found that it's super adaptable to homeschool, which not all public school units are, as you may have found. And what's unique about Fishtank is that each unit is around kind of a central theme that they develop, but they, at least in the middle school, I haven't really looked in the younger ones. The middle school version, they take your text as well as nonfiction articles, videos sometimes, to help build to tell the larger story of whatever the theme is. So the one that we're going to take a look at today, because I'm getting ready to prepare it for Matthew's next one, is Unit 3 in 7th grade, Pursuing Dreams, A Raisin in the Sun. If you're not familiar with A Raisin in the Sun, it's a play, I don't know when it came out, but it's set in the 1950s on the south side of Chicago with an African-American family. And so in each one, they have something that they call the essential questions and understandings. And that's kind of the guiding ideas for the unit. For example, what happens to a dream deferred? A person's dreams and values are shaped by their life experiences. Money can bring with it great opportunity and also tremendous conflict. So those are kind of the big ideas, or some of the big ideas to go into this unit. This will be our 4th one. And Matthew has just really enjoyed the books. He's enjoyed feeling like he's not being dumbed down to. He enjoys the videos and the articles that tell the bigger story. So yeah, it's been a fantastic hit. I am planning to use it with 8th grade for him, absolutely. I've looked a bit about the high school ones for Ben next year. I don't know yet. I'm going to go clean up my desk, first of all, because it is an absolute disaster right now. And then I'm going to take you over and we will look through it. I will show you what you get, materials you get, and show you how I go about preparing for it. When you download a Fishtank unit, you get 2 sections, or there's 2 different files that come in it. One is the overview, and then the other one are the more detailed lesson plans. So I'm going to take you through both of them, just a quick little mini flip through, and then I will show you how I actually go about planning them. So in the overview section, you have your summary of what the unit's goals are, all the materials you're going to use. The supporting materials are optional if you don't want to do those parts of the activity. I always make sure to go through them and see if any of them have links that are outdated or behind a paywall, which I've almost never found, but things change on the internet, that kind of thing. So I do that before I start planning so that I make sure to know if I need to leave anything out. Then rationale on the text. Essential questions and understandings are just kind of more about the goals of the unit. Vocabulary, and I'll talk more about how I use that later. And then the notes for teachers. Now, usually the notes are not something that are very important for me, but in this book, Raisin in the Sun, obviously 1950s Chicago African-American family, we're going to be dealing with things and an older play, language that may be outdated for us. There's mention of lynching in the book, that sort of thing. So do take a look at that so that you're prepared for it. In the lesson plans, they also mention where these things come up. While I do not usually print pretty much anything in this section, this one, the lesson map, is a page that I do print out because I find it helpful to have this overview of what's going on throughout the unit. So they just give you your lessons, the materials, and then what the objectives are for each of those lessons. And then, of course, they give you your standards, which we don't need as a homeschool family. So each unit, and they're basically laid out the same way, every lesson is. And within, at least like within 7th grade and 8th grade, these are all similarly laid out. I have not dug into other grades, so I can't say for sure, but I would assume they're going to be similar. The materials that are going to be used in this lesson: a writing prompt, questions, vocabulary, and homework. And then again, you'll see objective, materials, writing prompt, questions, vocabulary. This one has one of the notes, because this section talks about lunching. And then your standards. Now, at least in the units we've done, the first couple of lessons have been a introductory to the topic. So we have ended up combining multiple lessons into one. I assume we'll do the same with this one, just because we don't need to go into it. As you know, it doesn't take as long for homeschool families to get through things generally as it is when you have a classroom full of kids. With the writing prompts, they always give you a sample answer. And I don't know if this is my kids or what, but the sample answers are always far more, a far higher writing level than what I would say any of my kids have been at this point. So if you're looking at it and you're like, yeah, neither are my kids, first of all. Second, just kind of use it as a guide, not for what they should be writing as far as the style, but an example of answering it well. And don't worry about it. Obviously, keep working on improving your kids' writings, but don't be freaked out by this, is what I'm trying to say. So in this unit, lesson 5 is where Matthew will begin as far as reading the text goes. Before that, it's just prep work. And when I look at these, they do have the writing, and then they have questions. And each lesson will have various kinds of questions and lengths of questions. How many? We do not do all of that every time. While these are by grade level, if you have kids who are 1 or 2 grades apart, I think you could probably easily combine them into doing these units. So with that said, what I usually do, and I will show you this in a minute in my setup, is the writing prompt I will put into a Google Doc for them, for Matthew to finish, and then we will use the questions orally. But not always. Sometimes I'll put these into the Google Doc and skip the writing prompt so that he has practice writing just short answers as well. And then when they have one that's more of an exit ticket, those usually are a question and several, a multiple choice. Well, I don't want to, even just copying and pasting, I don't want to deal with that. So I will use these as an oral question if I'm going to use it. So that's the basic overview. But now, how do I go about setting it up? Well, since we don't have homework in homeschool, I actually run our lessons each day from homework. So he starts with this and he goes until the next set of homework. Okay? So that's a lesson. He'll start off with a reading. You could complete, if you wanted to start off with just the writing, have them finish with reading in a day. So write, questions, discussion, and then finish the day reading. You could absolutely do that as well. Whatever's going to work for you. For us, the reading and then the work is the best. Because I don't want to have to make sure he remembers it the next day, especially the ones that are detailed, etc. So the first 4 are kind of introductions. So I'm going to see if I can combine them from 4 days down into 2. So let's take a look at this. So lesson 1 is reading an article and doing some writing about it. So it's about the American dream. I think I'll have him do the writing and some discussion. And then, oh, I already checked. For some reason, he could not get to this article. So I am going to have him do a video instead. And I'm going to write it down. It was from the crash course one, I think is what I'll have him do. And then, oh, so the writing prompt we will not do because it goes with the article. And same with that. Okay, so these two can definitely be combined into a day. And then lesson 3 has them listening to a radio segment. And, okay, because of this heavy topic of African Americans, segregation, all that, I like to make sure that we have a good discussion about it. So I'm going to have them skip the writing and we'll do the questions. Now, I am doing this on paper, but again, I do not usually do that. I don't usually print all this out. Lesson 4 has a poem by Langston Hughes. That was actually their homework, and then writing with it. So I think that in an effort to make sure we get this done in 2 days, I'm going to just skip all of this. Okay, so lesson 5 begins the play, and then writing, what does he hope for his future? We'll do that. And then I will discuss with these. So then we are back to homework, and that's where we're going to end for that lesson. So this is what I do with each one, is just scan over it and make some choices. I don't have a real reason. I just pick what sounds good to us. Again, they always have the standards, but you don't need any of that. Don't worry about it. This is definitely set up it's well set up, just not set up directly for a homeschool family. There's just stuff on here that we don't need, etc. Okay, so I'm going to turn off the camera and pull up my computer, and I will show you how I take this and put it into something for Matthew. I recently posted another video about using OneNote, and that's what I'm going to use for this unit. You could absolutely do this in a Google Doc, Excel spreadsheet, Google Sheet spreadsheet, whatever you want to do. You can even just print it out and highlight what needs to be done each day. Whatever works for you. So I've created a template here. For us, I've got Raisin in the Sun, vocabulary, other reading for like the articles that he has to do, and then some writing. I just realized I don't need the writing though because I'm going to put that in a Google Doc. So I don't need that. But let's put, let's delete that row. And on this one, I'm just going to put miscellaneous. Because we have some extra reading, but then I also have some video and such. Since this comes as a free PDF to download, you can open it and then copy and paste into whatever planning system you're going to use. So we are going to do that. And then I'll just continue copy and pasting over into OneNote. One thing that I really like about OneNote is that I can see in real time what has been marked off and what hasn't. It's helpful not only for me to know what he has to do, but it's also helpful for me to make sure that what I need to do gets done too and noticed by him. He's a pretty conscientious student, but sometimes he'll skip over things. So that's a really helpful thing for us. Once I get this all formatted, I'm going to hop over into Google Doc so I can enter in the writing prompts. The blue corresponds to the assignment, and then I type in the writing prompt. Well, copy and paste it.
And then I highlight any notes in yellow, and then he's ready to go.
So that's how I go about setting up a unit. And yes, this is not the same day as I taped this the intro. Didn't end up live. Anyway, that's how I tape it all, or how I do it all. It may seem like a lot of extra work. It's not, but it's obviously more work than, a ready to go plane that you just download and go. It's the term, download and go. All told, I would say I probably spend an hour doing this, maybe. And each one, we've been spending between 4 and 6 weeks on it. Being a 7th grader, he was definitely ready to kind of step up his level of work and get more structured and do both the input and then giving me his output for it and such. So this has been a great fit because we do all of that, but there's also some flexibility in it. And I think he feels grown up with it. If you have any questions about it, leave it down below. If you've used any, especially 8th grade or higher, and particularly loved one, I'd love to know, so as I go about picking ones for next year, I could do that. That's that, and I'll see you in the next video.